Everybody thinks that she's a very tough, driven, focused person, which she is, but underneath it, she's a big old marshmallow.
Hi friends, I'm Christine Caine, and you're listening to the Life and Leadership Podcast, where we share conversations with faith-fueled leaders from all over the globe.
God, I have so much to be thankful for, and even in the midst of my suffering, you are present.
I feel like the next generation are rising and choosing consecration, not deconstruction.
I'm an ambassador. I'm representing another kingdom.
Now, my prayer is that our time together each week activates you to fulfill your God-given purpose and to follow Jesus wholeheartedly as you lead within your particular sphere of influence. Hey friend, thanks so much for joining me on the Life and Leadership Podcast. Now we're building an empowering community here, and I absolutely love that you're sharing your time with us and choosing to be a part of it. Now, as we're kicking things off today, I want to encourage you to check out the show notes to access the reflection guide for today's episode. These guides are designed for personal growth as well as growing together with your team or small group. We want to get these delivered directly to your inbox. Okay, now listen, today could potentially be my favorite episode that we've ever recorded. It's also a sign and a wonder and a miracle, because joining me right here in the studio is the single most ravishing piece of masculine flesh on planet Earth. Before you freak out, it is my husband of 29 years, Nick Caine. I feel like doing a drum roll because honestly, you do not know. I had to pull every wife favor to get this guy into a studio. We're talking about raising kids in a ministry family, how to set healthy boundaries, and just basically everything. So we're going to dive in today. I think you're going to really, really see why I married this man.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you guys. I know that this honestly might be one of my favorite episodes ever of the Life and Leadership Podcast.
Maddie,
I know I won't be alone.
I'm interrupting you because it's your favorite conversation before we even start.
It is.
And Nick almost borderline had to bribe you. Did I not?
It was threatened rather than bribe. There was all stick, no carrot.
Yes.
So funny.
Okay, go on.
It's awesome. Well, we're going to cover a lot of different topics, life, marriage, how to work together, play together, stay in love, all the things. And so we're going to dive in. And the first question, I would probably say, I would say that I maybe know the story of this, but I would be curious to hear what your answer is what would you say is maybe a defining moment or two or experience that you had that sealed the deal for Christine and Nick Caine?
Oh, I cannot wait.
I do.
What sealed the deal for you, Nick, apart from the evident
The stunning good looks, No, in all honesty, it was watching her love Jesus, her passion to serve Jesus, her willingness to go out of her way for people, but her zeal for Jesus was the initial attraction. And then as I got to know her better, just figuring out that everybody thinks that she's a very tough, driven, focused person, which she is. But underneath it, she's a big old marshmallow and
big
soft.
Old teddy bear.
Are you saying I'm a wallflower?
I did preface that by saying that you're tough, capable, driven, and one of the greatest communicators I know.
Which is so good. Chris, what about you?
What about me? There were, yes, no,
you
there were.
You saw me and she chased me.
She buckled at the knees. She knew.
She chased me till I caught her.
Right. In his dreams, said every male on planet Earth. But, there were numerous things. First and foremost, I actually can't believe, because he was really one of the rare ones that just sort of presenced himself wherever I was. So if I was swimming at 6 a.m. in the swimming pool, at the local swimming pool doing laps for fitness, although I'd never seen him, all of a sudden, after I met him once.
Are you serious?
He was at 6 a.m. in that swimming pool doing laps. And one day, we bumped into each other. I went, Nick, what are you doing here? He's like, what do you mean, what am I doing here? I'm always here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I love swimming at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, we've been married almost 30 years now, and never once in the history of 30 years, not once, has he ever been up at 6 o'clock swimming in the pool. I'm just saying.
That is awesome.
That's because in those 30 years, you haven't been swimming in the pool. But I just need to intervene here because at the beginning of that story, you led into it with something which I need to qualify.
Which is what?
That I was one of the rare ones that
Yes.
positioned myself. So I would like to know, in retrospect, who was the competition.
There were many.
There should have been.
There were many.
There should have been. I didn't see them because I was focused on the goal. Sorry, but I just needed to clarify
There's so many layers to that, but for the sake of marital, for the sake of the fact that we'll make it to 40 years, I'll let that just pass. I'm just giving marriage advice. There's some things you just, how in Australia we would say, you let it go to the
keeper.
That's right. In
So
cricket,
that'd be like in baseball, that'd be you let it go through to the catcher.
you just let it go. Just
That's
let it go.
Leave it alone.
A lot of marital bliss comes out of just let it go through to the keeper. But
I'll pursue that later. It's like, I've got to know who I beat.
on all of that,
You're not competitive at all.
Not in the least.
so on all of that, it was his commitment. Nick was volunteering and serving in, back then in Australia, it was called the Christian Men's Network. So it was, and he worked with he was in Bible school and then working with the executive pastor of the church. And so kind of seeing the fact that he was at youth. So for me, these things, because I was already in vocational ministry, and so the fact that there was someone that was already 150% committed to Jesus, 150% committed to discipleship and the kingdom and evangelism and mission. That meant that there was no catch up, because we were like, when we met, I was 28, nearly 29, and Nick was a year. We're 364 days apart. I'm 364 days older. No, there's 365 days in a year.
And I'm the 21st.
And I'm the 23rd.
So that's 2 days.
That's because you're a banking finance
21st.
major and I'm an English economic history major. So we are on the 22nd of every month.
Of September.
And the 20 every year. I mean, yeah. On
You
the
finish
22nd
each other's sentences is what I'm
on the
noticing.
22nd of September, we are the same age. So the 21st this year, Nick's going to turn 58. On the 23rd, I turn 59. On the 22nd, we are both
21st and the 22nd, we have the same age. 2
Yeah,
days.
I knew that, but I was trying to be
Just try,
flowery and metaphoric and poetic.
Sorry.
So all of that. So I think that was because I was already on mission. And you got to go back. You weren't even born. And so the thing is that at that time, predominantly within culture and very definitely within Greek Orthodox culture, a Greek woman was, you basically were raised to grow up, wash, iron, cook, clean, get married, have babies. There was not a thought, and even in the Christian world, there wasn't a plethora of women doing anything or leadership. So I was already doing stuff. So that almost self-selected, in the late 80s, early 90s, because there would only be a certain kind of male, and even Christian male, that would be attracted to that, because for a lot of them, whether for theological beliefs or just whoever they were, would not have been kind of drawn to that. So the very fact that Nick was already all in, and that we were, so before I came to Christ, before I met Nick, I was running 1,000,000 miles towards Jesus an hour, and Nick was running 1,000,000 miles an hour towards Jesus. And then along the path of us running towards Jesus, we just collided. And then since then, for 30 years, we've kept doing what we were doing, which is running towards Jesus.
Yeah.
So it takes out a lot of the complication.
Absolutely. In its most simplest form, which is so beautiful. And I know some people have asked, and I know that some questions we had come in, I think over the time and period that we've talked about marriage and life and family and things, is what would you say is your unique dynamic? You're both running after Jesus, but how would you describe or articulate your dynamic in marriage with the unique life that God has given you guys?
We have fun together.
Yeah.
We have fun together serving Jesus. So that's...
Yeah, and you just... like literally, so of course there's mutual respect. So all of these things really matter, and I understand that. So to me, it's not like we have to work hard at respecting one another, because we really, really do. And just I think the big thing over 3 decades is we've both really grown. And we committed that. I remember even like on our wedding day, it was like, man, it's going to be a bit weird saying these marriage vows, because the person that's making, the only thing I can promise you is that the person making these vows today isn't going to be the same person 20 years from now. Like it was just like, we were like, so we both were highly committed to ongoing growth, ongoing development. And so in that, fun has been, and it helps. I guess I was answering the other question in that. So we married at 29 and 30. Mm-hmm. So we already had worked through, now that doesn't mean anything nowadays because I guess you don't have to have worked through things, but we were set on par that a lot of the things that we had in common, obviously first for us, it's not for every couple, but for us totally, not only Jesus, but commitment to church, commitment to mission, commitment to evangelism. So they were
the
big
vocational
things.
piece.
The vocational
was very
piece was
clear.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already running towards all of that. And then because we were a bit older, we'd sort of worked out things that we liked and didn't like. So lots of things, which are just simple, travel, great food, exercise, some of those major things that you go, awesome. We both love that, core values to both of us. So it was, that would make things easier. A commitment to in God's time, raising family, and when we had kids that it would be a priority, so lots of the things were never like, oh my gosh, we need to have a prayer meeting and intervention, is this what they were like given. So it just takes actually a lot of stress out. So we've had by and large, I'm not painting it out to be all just perfect, but I am saying largely really good. And our moments of even massive sort of conflict, relatively speaking, over 30 years is fairly few and far between. It's not like I don't want to depict it as being fairy tale, but I also don't want to make it out that it's
we deal with
been
stuff,
we deal with it as we go.
Move on.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's done. Let's go.
Yeah, and we have a great forgettery, as in like once it's been dealt with, it's if the Lord can cast things as far as the east is from the west and remember them no more, then maybe we need to have a habit of doing that as well.
Which is so beautiful. And I'm even like taking notes in my own brain. I've been married for 5 years, and even how you evolve to relate to one another changes. But having that foundation of trust, I see that evidence so much in being in your presence consistently.
Yeah.
So I'm so encouraged by that. And I know that you're entering into a new stage of life in the last year and a half or so. You're in the empty nester stage, as now both of your girls are out of the house. And so how do you enter into that stage relating to them? I know you love your girls. And so, how has that shift been? And what are some things that you're gleaning on? And
Nick can answer because his response is different to mine.
I love it.
Yeah. I would move them back in if I could. I love having them around, and I'm happiest when they come home from college or when they're visiting. But we just communicate all the time. So I text both the girls pretty much every day, or talk to them every day, spam them with all sorts of stuff off Instagram, and we talk through different things that we're going to do. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And just chat. So it happens even before they leave home, because they gradually become adults. You actually have to treat them differently, and it's like you're dealing with an 18-year-old, even though they were living under our roof at 18 and at school or at college. You still have to treat them as an adult because they're an adult. Right. So you have to gradually evolve how you're dealing with them, and you go from directing and having control of their lives to trying to coach and shepherd and gently lead them in the right direction, which hopefully they go most of the time, and understanding that they're individuals and they're like even our two girls are completely different. They've got lots of things in common, but they're completely different personalities.
Yeah. I love it. So for me, I mean, we are a very tight-knit family and very close, and I think they're strong and healthy, largely because Nick is a wonderful father, very hands-on, very engaged, and I am. And I love both their quirks. Like Nick said, they're so different. One's in Paris, France, the other one's in Malibu, but we are both in contact with them every day, like every day with Sophia on WhatsApp and phone calls, really several times a week. And so it just, in me, it's a little bit Hotel California. They can check out, but they can never leave. I'm Greek too. We're a little bit mafia. So,
Once you're in, you're in.
That's it. You're in. They're not going anywhere, so we're fine.
And not only are you traveling all the time to go see them, meet up with them in other places, but you also just travel very frequently in your life. If anybody is listening and you've been in the Caine world at all, you know that you're fast speed. And so I know that you work together, you travel together, you literally do everything together. Now, how do you create those healthy boundaries of work being work and your marriage being your marriage?
At Trevecca Nazarene University, leadership is more than a skill, it's a calling. The School of Leadership and Interdisciplinary Studies offers cutting-edge programs at the bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels, all designed to prepare you for a career that impacts your world. In any of the leadership degree programs at Trevecca, you'll be guided by experienced faculty as you build expertise that can prepare you for promotions and new career opportunities. You'll get to know a supportive cohort of classmates who understands you and are working towards similar goals. Best of all, you'll take flexible online classes so you can continue working and prioritizing the things in your life that matter most. Academic excellence is at the heart of Trevecca's mission to educate and equip leaders. That dedication has been recognized by Fortune Education, naming Trevecca's Doctor of Education in Leadership the most affordable online doctorate in education 2024. No matter your field, Trevecca's leadership programs equip you to lead with integrity, creativity, and purpose. Visit trevecca.edu/Christine to get started today. Yeah, this is not for everyone. So, you'll notice we haven't written a marriage and family book and do so few of these podcasts, which is why you get so many questions when you put the post. You ask Chris anything and then suddenly everyone's like, oh, great, we're dying to know because we don't do this. But we do also understand we have quite a unique calling and quite a unique synergy. And I am always, it's like lots of things, whether it's spiritual disciplines or talking about marriage and family, I am very careful to not go to everyone, well, here are the 5 things and here are the 7 things you should be doing, because every person is different. Of course, the overarching theme. So why does it work? Because it's Jesus first. Yes. So at the end of the day, that is, and not just included in the only Jesus is his mission and his purpose here on earth. So that is what drives us. And then it's not, and I do understand in many settings there needs to be a very clear cut. 5 o'clock comes, I go home, we don't talk about work. And I realize why there needs to be those sorts of things and boundaries. But of course, it would be illogical and dishonest if I was to say that would be our case. We do not have at this moment, we shut off, and at that moment, we don't. We very much stay within our lane. So we create different sorts of boundaries. So, and sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating for our team because I think they presuppose that because they've talked to Nick's going to come home and tell me. Well, so we don't have, we're all in our lanes, just like I'm very big on our, globally, our offices, our teams, clarifying profiles and lanes. Within that lane, we know what's going on. So that means there are not that many things that get escalated to the place where we're going to have to talk about it 24/7 when it does. Like, I don't really ask if Nick's Lane is obviously CEO of A21. There's 140 staff there. There's 14 offices around the world. There's many. I'm rarely, if ever, going to ask anything to do with that specific thing. And then just different times and seasons, even within Equip and Empower, we've got different lanes in that. So I run what I run, Nick runs what he runs, and then the things that get brought to the table are things that would involve us both that need to be done. But we don't try to get in each other's lane, so that's a huge thing. But we're checking out now and now checking back in. It would be so unrealistic because it's like, we travel 300 days a year all over the place. So, and we run something global. So to me, it's more to do with rhythm than clock off this time, talking about this, clock off that time. So Nick does mountain biking. So in the diary, I do hiking, but there are certain activities that we do that will go in that allow us to disconnect, to detox, and be with other people too, talk about other things. I'm not Nick's counselor. He's not my counselor. He's got a professional coach he's going to talk to about certain things. I've got people that I'm going to talk to about certain things. So I'm not expecting Nick to be Jesus. He's not expecting me to be Jesus.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So you just go, what does it mean to be husband and wife? And what is it that only we can do to do that? We have an all in life. So our vocation, our calling is so woven into the fabric of who we are that it's not like we go, we are not discussing this now. It's 6:00. It's if something, but we're also going to be, it's going to have to be something that's really needs to be discussed to kind of tie in for us to do it. But otherwise, we're fairly good at letting God be God, I think, over most things. We are, and trusting each other. And that means Nick would do certain things, certain ways that I might not like, and I would possibly do, I can't think of any, certain things in certain ways that he mightn't like. But unless it is something that truly needs to be addressed because it's whatever, unchristlike or just wrong, it would be just like, well, that's just an opinion and that's your lane and go for it. And you have to go, that's not a hill ready, for us to die on. Yeah. And so you've just got to be Christ-like in it. It's not like, man, your job is always taking you away. We married in our late 20s, almost 30, on mission for Jesus, in our mindset as missionaries, ready to be martyrs. We were all in. So we're almost 60 now and we're still as all in. So it's not like boundaries, whatever that might be. It's not the goal is not the boundary itself. The goal is that you have a rhythm of health and in every way. So the boundaries move all the time. And where the kids were at, those boundaries are forever moving in order to ensure the rhythm that we have a strong marriage and strong ministry, strong kids, and a great love of life. So I'm not that caught up about the exact boundary, but if I'm, or where it is, because it might move tomorrow because I can't have it there because I'm now in another country and a different time zone, and I might need this in this moment. So I'm not as much about the boundary as the rhythm of we both know it's like, and we know each other so well, of course, after 3 decades where I'm like, you know what, you might need to go on a 3-day mountain bike ride with your boys. Just that's going to do. Yeah. And you actually want what's best for the other person. The more secure your identity is in Christ, I'm not taking that personally, thinking, why don't you want to be with me? It's more like, oh no, actually the best thing for you right now is to go and do that.
Right. Yeah, Nick, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think that was pretty comprehensive.
That was very comprehensive. It was amazing. And I think, when you say yes to marriage, you're saying yes to the front seat of that person's life.
Totally.
For eternity. So I think, I'm really grateful for the model that you guys have in that. And through all of these years together, we're hitting 30 here coming up very soon. What would you say is some of the best marriage wisdom or advice that either you've heard, that you've savored over the last 30 years, or that you also have had come to mind that you want to share with the listeners of the Life and Leadership podcast?
Just deal with stuff as it comes up. So we keep short accounts. We deal with pretty much everything that we need to deal with almost instantly, and then move on. So we stay on mission, and if we've got something that we need to address with each other, we pretty much get it in the open, dealt with, and behind us pretty quickly.
Do you think because I'm Greek that helps?
Yes, you periodically, you have more things to deal with me with, probably because I'm more troublesome. But she's ready to articulate.
Do you feel that I'm demonstrative?
Just a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm rarely wondering. Have you wondered in the last 30 years what I'm thinking?
No.
Which is honestly so helpful. I feel like in conflict, half of the conflict for most people, I think, is like, what are they actually thinking? But to not sweep anything under the rug and actually, that's
Do you think I sweep
awesome.
Things?
You don't sweep things. I could answer that one for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, you pretty much get it out. And rarely have I wondered what Chris is thinking. I think pretty much I can tell exactly what it is. And if I can't tell, she'll tell me.
And it's awesome that you would ask too. I think
Yeah, I really have to.
that's awesome. That's so good. What about you, Chris?
Marriage advice. Well, yeah. And again, it's. I'm always going to pause because at my age and stage of life, I have both friends, peers, just life that I know how complex it is, and there are so many factors, and so there's definitely not one size fits all. To the best of your ability, and again, everything I say is going to have 10 disclaimers, but try to keep it fun. Try to, you're not in competition with each other. You're here to, and especially if you're in Christ, if this is something that's supposed to model Jesus's love for his church, and it's like a picture of that, then it is it's a big deal. Like marriage is a big deal, and in our culture, we don't talk about it like we used to in many ways, and the misuse and abuse of many marriages, and I guess that's why I'm pausing because, I've always said to Nick, because people have often wondered, where do you stand on a wife submitting to a husband, and all those sorts of things, like they get all nervous. I go, listen, I got the best end of this deal because it's all subject to Nick loving me as Christ loves the church. So to the degree that he loves me as Christ loves the church, then I'm like, man, all the earnest is on you. Like you get, this is like really a big deal because Christ loved the church unto death. And so I'm like, well, I win. I'm so glad I'm the woman in this. And so it's like,
thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord. But truly, because by and large, it's almost ridiculous that you could even make a comparison between you loving me and Christ loving the church, but it's in the scripture, so it's okay. Don't but to the best that you could do that in a human form, that you do that and have done that, which then in me just sort of puts a natural desire to feel protected and come under, because there's no desire that he has other than for me to flourish and to it's actually really healthy. Like I could see how that happens. So to me. But I know that's not everyone's case, and I know if you try to look at culture to try to determine what marriage is in 2025, my gosh. So for us, we pretty much keep it simple, keep it fun, deal with stuff quickly, and I'm Greek, so I'm always going to be demonstrative, and I'm going to talk a lot. Nick is certainly, as you can all tell from listening to this, doesn't talk as much as me, but you talk.
I talk. When I've got something to say, I talk.
Yeah, very definitely.
And if I don't have anything to say, then I tend to not talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it is so much of our life, and for us, the uniqueness is we are so aligned on mission and purpose,
right?
That it's hard to. We wouldn't separate our marriage from that, because that was such a core part of what has brought us together, what will keep us together. And, often people say to me, well, Chris, you're lucky because you've got like a Nick Caine. I say, well, it's not so much that. It was Nick or nobody. And by that, what I mean is I would have stayed single than compromised purpose. So again, that makes me a little bit odd, especially 30 years ago in that sense. It's like, so my thing is it was for how I'm wired up, what I'm called to do, the way that I follow Jesus, for me, the commissioning, the call, the marriage, it's so intertwined. And if people are wondering why is she pausing, it's because I'm so aware that's not everyone's story. That's the deal. And so then you have to work out, okay, what does it look like in my context? What is a Christ-first marriage within the boundaries and the context that you have? But if you're listening to this and you're not yet married, what I'm saying is there's nothing like marrying for purpose. Nothing.
It's so good.
That divine alignment, the wind you have in your back, the things that you think don't matter at 25 that are really going to be mattering by 45,
Come on.
It matters. And Jesus and his purpose and his mission and divine alignment. That doesn't mean you do different gift mix, different skill set, different visibility in terms of public and stuff, but same heart and purpose. So that's what keeps us aligned.
The commonality of purpose makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Other people might be looks, other people might be, I don't know, or whatever it might be. But for us, coming together around purpose, which then is how we've raised our daughters too. So our family, that's why it's not that complicated for us that we have one daughter in France and, and that we're all traveling around the world, because they've grown up on the road and they've grown up not around a children-centric family, but around a Jesus-centered family, and not just Jesus, i.e. we're going to church on Sunday, but Jesus and his mission and his unique mission for our family, which is evangelism and the globe and, helping to rescue the victims of human trafficking, helping to empower women, helping to reach the lost. It's woven into the fabric of our family and our calling. And so they think like, now whether they do that or not is up to them in that sense, but the way we do family life orbits around that, because it's just woven into the fabric of God, what God called us to do.
That's so beautiful. I feel like every time I'm in this interview seat, I always get all teary. It's like ridiculous, but it is what I'm hearing you say really is the fruit of your yes on that day, and seeing that almost 30 years later, seeing the way that God has continued to bless your marriage. It's so grateful for the fruit of that. So thank you guys for your time today. I'm excited for more conversations to come about the topics we discussed, and can't wait for next time on the Life and Leadership Podcast with you too.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Okay, didn't I tell you that my husband was awesome? I know I'm biased, but it's true. I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. It would mean so much to me if you could rate this episode and leave a review. And I hope to see you right back here at the Life and Leadership Podcast next time. A special thanks to Trevecca Nazarene University's School of Leadership and Interdisciplinary Studies for sponsoring our podcast. Find your calling and advance your career with a degree that brings your future into focus. Learn more at trevecca.edu/Christine.
Access more